a Playlist original.
Hey, what's up? It's your host, Tori, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I feel like my voice is like low and sexy and gravelly. Maybe it doesn't sound like that at all to you, but I'm voice sick, which means I have like the mildest of colds, but I'm acting like I am on my deathbed and someone needs to wheel me out to seed. Feel the salt air one last time before I pass. But I'm so glad you're here. This is such a fun episode. Kelly from the Boobies and Newbies podcast is here and we get into so much fun stuff. And it's a long one, so this is going to be super quick. I just want to say there's so much going on in the States with these like anti-abortion laws. And if you just need a little bit of break from the fucking dire straits of the world, I hope that I can provide that to you. I was just reflecting about how on, I think my first bonus episode of the podcast, literally almost 4 years ago, reproduction rights were all in peril in the US again, and it fucking sucks that it hasn't changed or it's gotten worse. So if you're feeling helpless, I understand. You can always slide into my DMs and I'll put some things in the episode show notes. Some resources or places to donate to or things to check out. Anyways, here is my conversation with Kelly. I hope you enjoy. I'm back with a very special guest. Kelly from the Boobies and Newbies podcast is here. Kelly, how are you?
I am great. It is always a treat and honor to chat with you.
I know. I'm so glad that we've been able to reconnect because you were on the podcast, I believe, like about a year ago.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is I feel like one of the topics we're talking about has some tangential relationship to something we talked about a year ago, which just goes to show you how often Pete Davidson is in the news.
Yes, because we talked about Pete Davidson at the time he was dating Phoebe Divener
from
Bridgerton. And it just, oh my goodness.
Isn't that wild?
So funny. Yes, that I will say, doing a pop culture podcast, it does really show you how there's like just 10 people in the world and like everyone has like a 6th degree connection.
It's true. And honestly, I feel like it all leads back to the Kardashians, like in one way or another.
It does. One day I am going to do an episode that's just like the Kardashians, the Jenners, and then it branches off to the Hadids and like just, So I will get there one day.
And I will listen to it.
Yes. So tell the listeners a little bit about your podcast if you're new to them.
Absolutely. So I host a little podcast called Boobies and Newbies. It is a romance novel review podcast, although I also interview authors from time to time. And I'm excited that I'm kind of launching some new things this summer too. I'm trying to branch out from just reviewing romance. I like to kind of lead into more having discussions about the romance genre and like conventions to be found in that and tropes and how we can apply things we learn from reading romance to our own lives and vice versa. So the whole concept behind Boobies and Newbies is that I am a longtime reader of romance, and for many, many years, I had friends and family and even teachers tease me about my love for romance. And I thought, well, hey, what better way to start a podcast than to start one about something that I love and also have a way to kind of get back at all those people and say, you can't judge a book, let alone an entire genre.
By its cover.
Yeah, until you at least give it a shot. And so the whole concept is I bring on a romance reading newbie to read and review what is perhaps their very first romance novel, aside from the people who started with either Twilight, Nicholas Sparks, or 50 Shades of Grey. Those are like the 3 caveats.
Yes, because that once upon a time I was that newbie.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've had you on the show, which was a lot of fun, and so yeah, I'm in my 5th season now. It's been a great learning experience. It's been something that's led to a lot of opportunities that I never really kind of imagined. And so I'm pleased to be here and chat about romance, pop culture, reality shows, all of the above.
Yes, because so it's actually really interesting, like also how like fate brought us together, just like a romance novel. But like it was so weird how I feel like it's weird how I came on your podcast. And we recorded, I feel like, really early January or even December.
We did. It was a January episode for sure. I remember it being like a winter at a cabin romance.
Yes. And then like literally that year, I feel like romance has taken such a pop culture turn with shows like Bridgerton.
So definitely.
Like, it just has like all woven together. Or even, are you watching The Courtship?
Okay, so I started it and I kind of fell off the bandwagon because it wasn't exactly what I hoped it would be. And so I stopped watching, although my good friend Liz, she has a YouTube channel called Reader Seeks Romance, and she's been doing recap episodes for every single episode. So that's kind of been
I love that.
How I've been keeping up with it.
Yes. I feel like it's this show that I will get to, but I haven't cracked into it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like romance like novels have had such a like resurgence in pop culture.
It's true.
Or just mainstream media.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, for anybody who's ever mocked romance, I'll have you know it's a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry. Like this is,
I feel like it's the biggest genre. Is that a fact?
Huge.
That it's like
multi-billion dollars per year of this genre.
Yeah.
And I think Bridgerton is much like Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey were kind of a great gateway to get people interested.
Yes.
My only hope is that continues and grows and the genre gets to spread its wings in mainstream media, because even with, like we're going to talk about today with Met Gala, I feel like so much of that is inspired by this moment that Bridgerton is having, but there are so many more romance novels than Bridgerton. There is so much more.
Like Regency, London.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm excited for this shift in your podcast also, because a lot of your content on social media has really, again, like it's like my intersecting interest, because a lot of your content is shining a light on some of romance, the genre's like failings of like really heteronormative, one type of body, like one type of love story and stuff like that. And you rightfully criticize that, but also show and recommend books of like all different types of love stories, etc. So that's what I've been enjoying, and different types of sex and like every like everything.
I try because I love to read a little bit of everything. I feel like it's made me not only a more well-rounded reader, but also given me, I know it's fiction, but it really does provide you with a lot of insight into what other relationships look like that are less traditional than your own, perhaps, and what other experiences look like. And it has, the genre as a whole has been traditionally a very cisgendered white het woman space. And thankfully that's shifting, that's changing, but yeah, I think the best critics come from within whatever that world is. And the reason I point out things that I think are maybe shortcomings in romance is because I love the genre. I love it. It's not because I have a problem. I mean, I do have problems with it, but it's not because I hate it or I'm making fun of it. It's because I love it and I want it to do better and be better for everybody.
Yeah. I love that. And that's like literally why I talk about reality TV and pop culture. Because it's the same for me. Like I love it so much, but we also need to look at it with a critical eye, because it informs so much of our lives. And I feel like maybe romance novels to a lesser extent, but rom-coms like definitely dictate a lot of the, you know, way that people envision relationships.
Absolutely.
So,
Especially if you grew up in the 90s and you cut your teeth on Kate Hudson, Matthew McConaughey rom-coms of like 2002. Oof, you had a very skewed perspective of what romance was supposed to be.
100%. Yeah, that's so true. Oh my goodness. So speaking of Bridgerton, season 2.
Yeah, let me have it.
Was a wild ride because it wasn't a wild ride. Yeah, I definitely think like in some ways the show is finding its footing.
I agree.
Which is great, and like finding where it wants to go and who they want to focus on and what types of stories they want to focus on. But I think the one thing that I'll say about it, there's many things, but like I was just expecting way more sex. And I didn't read the books beforehand. So it's like I probably because I know it's a slow burn, like enemies to love, like, but I was just like, hi, like, again, my favorite type of TV show is softcore porn.
Yeah.
So
me too, girl.
I was waiting for it.
I'm of a couple minds as far as Bridgerton season 2 goes. So you and I have talked about this before. Before I moved away from LA, I used to work in the wonderful world of television. And the one side of me, the screenwriting side, I feel like we got so used to, at least in the first season, it was almost a direct book to show adaptation. And season 2 was not that. They strayed from it in a lot of ways. And I can look beyond that as like the romance reader. Like I'm not somebody that's so wedded to the material where I'm going to get upset about them changing things. But I just was like, well, you set this expectation with season 1 that I'm getting an adaptation of the book. And then you go and make season 2 and make it so different. Like there are so many different plot changes in season 2. And then on top of that, I think season 2 could have been 3 episodes with what was in there. I did not see, I was so disappointed by the character development in all the other characters aside from Kate and Anthony. Like Kate and Anthony had chemistry for days. I was so into those 2 actors and what they brought to the roles, but they did not develop anybody else. And there's like 8 or 9 books in this series. You have material to work with. So I'm just kind of wondering moving forward if they should limit it to one couple per season, or if we can just start working in, arcs and relationships when they happen and have it be a little more fluid than drawing it out to, 8 episodes of stares and long gazes.
Yes, which like I loved because I'm like, wow, they're just like panting. And I love a slow burn. Riveted.
I do. I love a slow burn. Yeah.
But like you're right, because there was just one too many times. Like after she had the accident on the horse, and then she was like still like, I can't do this, and I was like, okay, that's like one too many times. Like
it was just the same thing. And I have this problem when I read romance too. And this isn't, to say this isn't every romance novel, but I cannot stand repetition. I cannot stand the same thing happening over and over again, or being told the same thing over and over again. Like, I want to move the story and the characters forward. If you're not doing that, what are you doing? What is the point of this scene? What is the point of this moment?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree. And it does seem like, from what I've read, that they are moving it more to covering the ensemble cast. But again, I'm like nervous because that would also be like another tonal shift.
Yeah.
And I'm like, again,
it's hard.
You have to pick it.
Yeah, it's hard because I feel like they just set they set the tone with season 1 that then I think season 2 from what I've heard, season 2 has been very polarizing. People loved it.
Yes.
Or
yes.
they were like, what's going on?
Yes.
This did not measure up. And then for me, as somebody who has read the books, I know like which couples are supposed to come next. But I think from the way they've set it up, I'm almost expecting Penelope and Colin to be the next.
Because season 2 contained so much of their storyline. Yes. Yes, 100%. But it's supposed to be Benedict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also cannot stand Colin in the show. Like, not the actor per se, but just the character.
Yes.
I hate him so much.
He's actually like the person I'm like hate the most.
Yes.
I like the Featheringtons and shit like way better than him.
I'm like, you don't deserve Penelope. This is not fair for her.
Yeah, he's such a drip. Yeah, even especially in this season, I was just like, I hate you so much. Yeah, I also just think that, or I just hope that Hollywood takes cues from Bridgerton and just adapts way more. There's so many books I read in the romance genre that I'm like, oh my God, this would be such a good movie.
Well, and no shade to Bridgerton, but there are so many better historical romances. There are so many. In fact, I'm going to talk about one later because it does relate to the Met Gala. But it's just, I don't know. I not only should they be adapting more, but they need to diversify what they're adapting. Like, I've seen Bridgerton. I've seen The Hating Game, which I think they actually did a pretty good adaptation of.
Yes, I loved that. Yeah.
I thought that one was great. But again, there's so much. There's so much more. And there's a lot better stuff to choose from.
100%. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And again, they know it's so lucrative. So it's just so confusing to me, like, how we've had such a, I feel like, lull in the rom-com, especially genre. And so.
Although that new Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum movie, like, slayed at the box office too.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, people loved it. And so it was just one more example of like, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we capitalizing on this?
Yes. As gross as that is to say, like, that usually is the driving force. So, like, I don't know. It's just so weird to me.
Yeah.
Let's get into, well, like, more juicy.
Really
content.
Juicy. Like, if you thought
Netflix
Bridgerton was juicy.
This, like, you ain't seen nothing yet. We're going to talk about 365 this day. We're going to talk about Pete and Kim, and then I think really briefly, and then let's get into the Met Gala because that happened today and it was so much fun looking at all the dresses.
So good.
So 365 this day is a Netflix original movie. It came out like a week ago, really recently. I didn't know that they were doing a sequel because, which, like, I don't know why, because, like, it was such a, again, polarizing movie, but it was successful, like, financially. So I'm like, okay, why wouldn't they do this? But 365 came out 2 years ago. There was a lot of backlash because the plot is that a mafia, I don't know, like Italian
mafia dude.
Mafia boss.
Yeah.
Kidnaps this Polish woman and says, you have 365 days to fall in love with me, and if you don't, I'll release you. So he essentially kidnaps her. I don't know why I'm saying essentially. He kidnaps her.
He does.
And then she actually does fall in love with him. So, like, all's well that ends well, I guess. But it was really polarizing because it's like, hey, this is kind of like a gross depiction of a relationship. And then also because the sex scenes were like fucking insane. Like, I feel like not what you would expect in like any of like the raunchiest shows you've like ever seen.
Oh yeah, like Pornhub could take notes, like, for real, on the level of smut, for sure.
Like, there was literal articles being like, was it actually them having sex? And I'm pretty sure some of the actors like actually had to be like, no, it was acting.
Wouldn't shock me though.
Could have fooled me. Did you read the books?
No. Okay. So Here's where we'll start with this. 365 Days, the one that came out a couple years ago. It's based on a series of 3 books. I don't know what the deal is with all of the books that have followed Twilight having to be this like 3-book
like trilogy.
This trilogy romance, like, oh God, why are they gonna stay together? Yeah, we know they are. Because 50 Shades of Grey, same thing. This one basically sounds like the European version of 50 Shades of Grey. And it's based on, it's Polish. It's based on their Polish stories. And so I want to say at the time that they developed the first movie, it was still relatively unknown here in the United States, at least. I'm sure Canada was probably the same. And the books, I don't think, had been adapted into English at that point. And so I guess they have now, because I think of the success of the first movie that sort of like then launched like, oh, well, people loved this and they want to know what happens next, especially since it ends on a cliffhanger. So we got to get these books out there so people can read them before the next movie comes out. And sadly, there is still a third one to come.
I know, because I didn't know that, even though I don't know why I didn't think that there was going to be a third one when, spoiler alert,
another cliffhanger.
Laura gets shot at the end. But I was like, oh yeah. And then I read, when I was doing research like about this movie for this outline, I was like, oh, there's a third one coming, so like I'll set my like reminder on my Netflix.
Wait, so have you watched it yet?
Yes. Okay. Yes, and
just
like
checking.
I saw the gun scene, and then I still didn't clue in that there would be a third one, and I think that's because at the end of the first one there was a car crash that just was not addressed.
Never addressed.
In the second one. So I was like, why would this be addressed?
No, watch the third movie pick up like 6 months later. She's like 5 months pregnant, and there's no mention of her like almost bleeding out ever.
Yes,
like
yes.
This movie was such a wild ride. Like I did a little a TikTok about it where I was like, basically, if you just need to boil it all down to like a 1-sentence summary, 365 Days this day is a 2-hour erotic music video.
Yes.
I really think like Netflix, Pornhub, and Spotify like got into a room together and were like, what can we do? And they're like, oh yeah, we got this covered. Or they started like selling like music spots to pop
artists.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, we just keep selling them, so we'll just keep going and cut out the plot of the movie, because it was all...
There doesn't need to be dialogue.
No, if you take out the music montages in this movie, there is probably 20 minutes. There's probably 20 minutes left.
Literally, like, honestly, maybe less. Like...
I don't want to rewatch it. I might rewatch it just to count
the minutes. Honestly, because there was montages of them shopping, walking on the beach, learning how to surf, eating spaghetti.
Yep.
More walking. And
the sex, obviously.
And fucking tons of sex. But like, I started counting the montages at like the hour mark. So I'm sure I'm missing like a billion. It was so wild. But I was thinking, like, if people are listening to this, they're like, should I check this movie out? Don't.
No.
like, fucking don't. But if you do, you have to be into TV where you put it on in the background and then you clean your entire apartment.
You'll basically be listening to a soundtrack, because there's no movie. I know a good amount of people who have seen this who are like, well, Kelly, I didn't go into it for the plot. And I'm like, no, that's fair. Like, I understand if you're just looking for like some softcore that's honestly pretty hardcore.
Yes.
Like,
okay, we'll have to talk about that too. Yes.
Totally fine. Like, again, I think Netflix is onto something here with like the content they're putting out, because people love to watch and love to talk about sex. However, there is there is no story. I mean, it's barely a movie. Like,
Yes.
I don't know what to tell people when they ask about it, because there's just, there's so many gaps. There's so much I just don't understand about it.
So I think like one of the biggest plot holes is that he has an evil twin brother.
Oh, talk about like a classic trope, although I think it's more soap opera tropey than romance tropey for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming it's played by the same actor, but when I saw them close up, I was like, it really does not look like him.
He looks strung out AF as like the evil twin. Well, and then my question is, you have the evil twin. Are we giving spoilers? Like, are we telling people about this fine film that they shouldn't watch?
Yes, I think this is a spoiler heavy episode. Yes.
So not only does, what's his face, Massimo, I think that's his name.
Yes.
Does he have an evil twin whose name I honestly couldn't be bothered to remember, but there's also the introduction of like a third dude named Nacho.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, that seems both lazy and racist to me. And he's the like alternative love interest, I guess.
Yeah, that was so weird to me because she just like left with him. Yeah. And then, like, she got
the sexy
kidnapped.
gardener.
Yes, and then like didn't check in on anything, even though it's like,
no,
if it's a gardener working still for like a mafia boss, like you should probably check in on like.
So random. Like it's just, there's so much going on and at the same time nothing.
Yes.
Because you don't care about any of these people.
No.
Honestly, it just gets boring watching them fuck all the time because that's all they do. Like, there's a scene at Christmas where she's like, you just wait until we get back to our place and I'll give you what I got you for Christmas. And it's her. Like, you know, spoiler alert, it's her. And I'm just like, he has that every day.
Yeah. So I know. I was like, that is really the worst gift. It's like when you forget to get someone something and you're like, oh, well, it's me. Like,
it's me. It's almost the same sentiment as like men buying women lingerie so that they can wear it for them.
Yes,
I'm just like, what?
But, yeah, that makes no sense. But yeah, I think it was because she was wearing the same outfit, or it was like in the same room as maybe the first time they had sex or something like that. But yeah, so wild. But I will say you're right. It wasn't softcore because it's not Bridgerton where there's like nice lighting and like
tasteful music renditions.
Yes. And like they're not in like a field. There was like butt plugs and like cups and stuff.
I will say I do appreciate the variety of sex that they have. Like, I love that there's some toys. I love that there's like some mutual masturbation. I like that we're, you know, bringing in all sorts of stuff. I'm like, that's great. They do it in the shower. They do it up against every fucking window that they can find. They do it outside. But I'm like, you would think that would be enough. Like, I'm sure some people are listening who haven't watched it that are like, well, I don't watch my porn for the story. And it's like, I understand. But it's not. But when you go to watch porn, you go to watch porn. Like, you know.
Yes, this is, we were going to watch a movie.
Right. And it's like, you know, it's going to be sexy because like the first one was set up that way. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it wasn't even sexy. Like, I think you can watch people having sex and it not be sexy. And that's how I felt like through most of the movie was I was like, these people don't put off any kind of heat together whatsoever.
Yes. Okay. That's the other thing I wanted to say is like, I enjoyed Kate and Anthony's panting more than I did these people like literally having crazy sex.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
I was literally watching it like deadpan.
Yeah. I would literally look up from the computer and be like, wait, they're doing it again? Or is this the same scene? Like, I don't, I'm not sure.
I watched it in 2 sittings.
Yep.
And when I returned it on, after like 20 seconds, I think she was fucking Nacho. It might have been a dream. But I was like, I don't know. It was just so weird that I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's just that nobody
I don't know why I wanted to
any
say that.
any connection with anybody in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they add in her friend having a romance with some other mafia guy. And I'm like, look, as much as I'm here for like the friends getting their story, I'm like, you just added another couple that's going to be having these fuck fests like throughout this movie that nobody cares about.
No one cares about her and her friend. Yeah, and then they tried to weave in like her parents and the Christmas stuff.
Garbage. Complete trash. All of it.
And they're like at the Christmas dinner table, like full on making out.
Yep.
Oh my God.
It's awful.
It bothers me so much.
I haven't read these books, mind you.
Yeah.
And I do follow a YouTuber who read the second book a few months ago in preparation for the movie coming out and kind of did a deep dive comparing and contrasting the two. And I guess what's different about them from what I gathered is that the second book is full of all these crazy plot twists. And so in the movie, they just took out all of them.
That's so funny. Oh my God.
So I'm just like, I feel like there could have been a medium.
Yes.
You could have kept some of them
without
getting rid of everything. But like it all starts. I mean, if you watch the first movie, this one, you know, it's going to be bad within the first 5 minutes because they don't address the major cliffhanger at the end of the first movie. And then they're married and then they're having sex again. You're just like, what?
Yes. Oh my God. It was so wild. It's just so funny. I will say I watched the entire thing on 1.5 speed. Because
that's a good idea.
It was such a good idea. And also, because a lot of it is in like Italian and Polish.
Yes.
You're reading subtitles anyways, so it's really easy to watch in 1.5.
3 languages, 1 movie, 0 plot.
Yes. Rotten Tomatoes, apparently it's like one of the first movies to just get 0%.
And you know what? Rightfully so.
Yeah, I know.
Rightfully so. Like the only thing that is redeeming about this movie, I think 90% of the budget went to the music and 10% went to the fashion.
Yes. But like bad fashion?
Yeah, not even worth it. Like not even worth. I'm like, yes, the men can fill out a nice suit. Great. Yeah. But what else?
Yes. Some reviews said it's piping trash and it's barely a movie.
And I mean, they quoted us,
Yeah.
obviously.
Okay, I want to highlight one scene before we move on because it's so egregious and you made a meme about it. It is so Massimo and Laura go golfing on their honeymoon and it's just like her parading around in this like cute golf outfit. And then I guess she's like the caddy and he needs to like put the golf ball into the hole. She goes up to the flag, works it like a stripper pole, which like broad daylight, like fucking get it, girl. And then she proceeds to sit down, spread eagle, and wait for him to hit the ball, like with her
into
vagina.
The hole.
Yes, like on the hole. What the fuck? That's not hot in like any sense of the world.
Oh, and just in case people are wondering, yes, it is a montage.
Yes.
But you know, I stopped asking questions about 10 minutes in because and then it basically, after this whole honeymoon sequence, it all leads to her being like, I'm upset that you don't spend every waking moment with me. Like, I hate being a wife. I'm just like, what? All we've had is like golf sex
Yeah.
and, shopping trips.
It's also like, Laura, you were kidnapped.
Yeah.
That's how you met. Did you think it was going to get any better?
Set aside any expectations you could possibly have to watch this movie, because every time you think that a piece of the plot is going to, we got to think about that for later, like this is going to pay off somewhere later, it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't.
No.
No drama leads to, more drama. Like
yes.
it's and then nothing. So
yes. If you want a movie that you don't need any brain cells to watch, like,
Zero.
When you're like so tired that you're like, what show can I put on that I don't have to pay attention to, but I just need something? It's this.
It's kind of the equivalent of like when you're driving home from work and you don't remember the like 50-minute drive, and then all of a sudden you've pulled up in front of your apartment. You're like, how did I get here?
Yeah. Yes.
That's that movie.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you actually asked me why Nacho kidnapped her, why the brother shot them, like, I could not tell you.
No, there's no explanation for any of it except, what did they say? Piping hot trash.
Yes.
Barely a movie. That's it. That's your explanation.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad we could talk about it, because when 365 came out, I wanted to talk about it, but it didn't come up on the pod. So I'm glad we could talk about it now.
I'm glad too. And you know what? I don't even know what to expect in the third one. But I do know that it's supposed to come out fairly quickly, because they filmed them at the same time.
Back to back, which was really smart, because I think that there was such a big gap between, obviously, for COVID. So, and guess what, folks? I'll be watching.
Something to look forward to.
Yes. Okay, this was a big weekend I feel like every fucking weekend is a big weekend for the Kardashians. Like, they're just literally everywhere. And they were at, like, I think it was the White House Correspondents' dinner. I wrote that and then I didn't even fact check.
I think you're right.
Okay, thank God. They made their red carpet debut. Everyone was surprised because it was like the day before the Met, so people were thinking that would be, the big reveal. What did you think of their looks, and like why were they there? And Pete's obvious glow up. Like,
yeah, I couldn't tell you why they were invited to begin with, because I feel like this is an invite only sort of event, and I feel like the only two justifications I can come up with is that Kim has done some, she's done some work with like prison reform.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I guess it could be that. And then
Yeah.
at the same time, it could just be for the celebrity status, especially when you're talking about how old Joe Biden is, and maybe just one to look cool with the kids. And maybe like, but I don't know. I don't really know much about the event itself to like know what even goes on there. But I don't know. It seems like an odd place to be invited to go as a Kardashian.
Yeah, and I guess like you're right. If you're getting an invite from the president, you're not who cares the reason you're going, because that's like extremely prestigious. I guess regardless of which president it is. I think like, so Kim looked beautiful, and I'm just loving Pete with her at these events, because he usually wears like really street style, to me, like weird clothing, but I know like to some people it's like
stylish.
It's very stylish. But it's so funny watching, like, he was wearing brand new like Vans sneakers, a tailored suit, a skinny tie, which I didn't know skinny ties, like, they had such a moment, and then I felt like they like went away. Yeah, went away, and now they're like back. And then his tan, I'm like, oh, you got a spray tan. Like,
yeah, you can definitely see the influence that being part of like the Kardashian sphere has had on him, and I don't mean that in like a negative way.
No.
I I just mean that, and you know what? Here's the thing. I know that I talked shit about Pete Davidson the last time we talked. And
Same.
Pete Davidson is one of those guys that I just genuinely, I don't understand. I don't get the appeal 90% of the time. However, there is still a piece of me that I'll see specific snippets or video clips from like, oh, yeah, that is interesting. I can see where, from what I can tell, he just seems like a pretty chill guy.
Yes.
And so I think they kind of like balance each other out in terms of, you know, like she always has so much going on, like with everything, whether she wants it or not. That whole family does. And I guess, you know, part of the thing about being in their family or with their family is that you do need to look a certain way and act a certain way. Yeah, so I don't know. It is interesting to see him, especially back to back between this White House Correspondents' dinner and then the Met Gala today. I do like, what I love to see, whether it's Pete Davidson or any other male celebrity with a woman on his arm, is I love to see just the way that they dote on it or cherish the women that they're with, like the way they look at them and the way they help them up the stairs, and they're always there when they need them, but at the same time they're like, oh, I know it's my time to like back off so like she can have her moment. And he does that.
Yes. Okay, I love that you're pointing this out because usually I'm shitting on them too. And I think you're like, you're right though. Like, I think that his charm is just him being like a normal dude in a very not normal world. And I feel like I had a crush on him for like a minute, but I really don't now. But he is charismatic. Like, I do think he's really charismatic. But you're so right, because I have been saying that they're fake forever, and maybe they still are a fake couple. But like, he seems to like really, like, some of the pictures that they've posted, or like, you're right, like how he like leads her up the stairs of places, or like touches her back when she like gets into the car. Usually I fucking hate that shit, but I'm like, I'm really into this.
I'm with you. I used to think it was fake for the longest time. Like, I was like, no, this is not happening. And honestly, it's hard to say kind of like what their relationship dynamic is. Like, they could just be like, we're really good friends, but like we also fuck. Yeah. And that's fine. Who cares? But there's definitely a chemistry between them. Like, just because I was watching the Met Gala today and seeing, you know, they were like the last couple to arrive.
They pushed back this podcast recording.
Yeah, like we did specifically so that we could watch the Kardashians' arrival. And you know that Kim timed that. Like, she was like, we're getting there last.
Of course.
But because of that, you got to see from like when they first arrived all the way up the staircase, all the different moments. And there would be moments where he would like be close to her. There would be moments where she would reach for his hand. There'd be moments where he would reach for her hand. And it's those micro moments that you're like, oh, okay, this is the real right here. Like, this is what makes this real.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like I've become such a cynic with having this podcast, because I'm like, everything's fake, and like, there's no way that this is real.
And you know what? It usually is.
Yes,
like, let's be honest.
Yes, I'm like so fucking gullible with this shit. Like, oh my God. But you're right. Like, I have been loving, like, she was accused of photoshopping him in that picture of them eating dinner.
Oh.
And so she posted like the live version. You know, when you like,
it's just amazing to me why people care this much. Like, you know what? Who cares if she did Photoshop him?
I know. Oh my God. Okay, so I am so, this is me with like fucking everything, but especially this. One part of my brain is like, this is so harmful to like beauty standards and like,
sure,
blah, blah, blah. And then there's the other part of me that it's like, this should not be a scandal because we know it's them and they do this every single
And I think
photo.
It's both. I don't think it's one way or the other, because it's one of those things where it's like, I had this conversation. This is so funny. I had this conversation with my dad recently, who, you know, is a 60-something-year-old white man. But we were talking about something about like standards for beauty and like how, and I tried explaining to him like why it's different for girls and why it's different like for girls in the last like 10-15 years. And he's like, well, what's changed in the last like 10-15 years? And I said, well, the internet, like the internet and social media. Like it used to be when we were kids, you picked up a magazine or you watched what was that, TMZ, like before, on TV, like it was never around you 24 hours a day.
Totally.
And now it is. And you have people like the Kardashians where whether they like it or not, they are influencing people to think about beauty standards, fashion, dating,
totally,
how you behave in certain situations. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah, you're right. Like when I was growing up, it was like, oh, I'm going to the lake or I'm going on a road trip. So my mom purchased these like 5 magazines for us to read. That was like the only, so it's like, okay, like every 2 months I saw a magazine. And then you're right, like TV, yes, we watched it every night, but it would literally probably be like one show. Like a 30-minute sitcom is like all we would watch, which is so like weird because now I just feel like everyone watches TV like all of the time. I don't know.
Right. And reality TV today is not what reality TV was
then
10-15 years ago.
Yeah. And even when social media came on the scene and we would see celebrities, again, it was like just less insidious. Now it's like every influencer has all the same Photoshop tools, etc., as like the professionals. So it has changed even, in the last couple years for sure. But yeah, I know the Photoshop scandals, like it still gets me like every single time.
Oh, golly. Well, I was excited. And then I know the other thing as far as like Pete and Kim go was that I saw something about him having a new tattoo, having to deal with her kids.
Yes. Okay. So this was the like probably actual scandal from the White House Correspondents' dinner was that in pictures you could see a new tattoo on his neck. It's KNSCP, which stands for Kim North Saint Chicago Psalm, which like that again is like wild.
I, by the way, totally missed one of these kids. Like I remember North and Saint.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe a hint of Chicago. I totally missed Psalm. I don't know when Psalm happened.
Yeah, he's probably like he's like pretty like I would say he's like 3. Like he's pretty young.
But they're all Kanye's kids?
Yes, yeah. And she did 2 of them. She was pregnant and then 2 via surrogacy.
Maybe that's why. That's why I didn't remember.
And I'm pretty sure with Chicago, they detailed the surrogate on the show. But then with Psalm, I'm pretty sure it was like almost like a surprise.
There was just like a baby one day.
Yeah, it's like they didn't talk about the surrogacy process again. So, yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure it was pretty much a surprise.
Let's see, we already know that he likes his tattoos.
Yes.
And I know that he's been in the process of removing a bunch of them over the last couple years. I know that from interviews I've seen with Kim, she's mentioned that he has a few already that are for me. I don't know why, but okay. So, I mean, if he's removing tattoos and adding more in, you would like to think that he's doing them with reason and with intention. And I don't know though how I feel about, I honestly in general, I'm very anti getting people's names or like faces tattooed on you at all. Like whether it's a romantic partner or like a family member or Dolly Parton. Like I just, it's not for me.
Yeah,
so.
Same. Totally. Because you never know where life's going to take you. So I totally get that. Yeah, that is the part that's so weird to me because when he was dating Ariana Grande, he got like the bunny ears behind his ear for her. And then they broke up. So he changed it to a heart. And then he got it removed. And I'm like, do you just want to throw money and time and pain, like so much pain? Like,
I mean, he's got it.
yeah,
He's got the money. He's got the
yeah.
time. He bought a freaking like ferry boat with Colin Jost.
Yes,
so I'm like,
yeah.
you can do it. It's his choice.
Yes.
It's what I'm sure some people will like maybe think that he's being petty and doing it as like a knock at Kanye. Like, look, I have your ex-wife, I have your children, I have their names on my body. Like, I can see, but he doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. I think with somebody else, that might be something that I would think about, but I don't see that with him.
I don't see him as a calculating person, but I will say, like, he seems like a fucking Dumbo. Like,
it's true. Very, like, golden retriever energy, for
yes,
sure.
100%. The one thing I will say, though, is that he is in so many PR relationships. And that's why, again, I was so skeptical about Kim. And that's why I'm like, maybe he is a little bit more calculating, because you have obviously, not maybe you planned these, but your like management team planned these. It is weird.
Like, to think about how many big actresses and stars that he's had relationships with, where you're just like, because this is what I've always questioned. I'm like, I don't understand how he is swinging these women.
Yes.
Like, these are like A-list
like, Kim
women.
is the girl, and like she has been the girl for years. Like,
and Ariana Grande is very much the girl too.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And like his other girlfriends, like he went on that date with Kate Beckinsale, and then Phoebe Dynevor, who we mentioned, and Kaya Gerber. Like,
these are all
big,
very big, very big names. So I don't. And it's like, I think you can go one of two ways. You can be like, oh my God, this is so fake. He is basically like the guy that every publicist wants to set up their client with. Or you can look at it as like, maybe there is just this carefree, doesn't give a fuck attitude about this guy in a good way, where there's just something women are drawn to, even if it's just like a, hey, this is the guy I'm gonna like have a fling with for the next couple of months, because we know that this is not gonna go somewhere, and I am okay with that.
Well, okay, but that's again what I was like, okay, it is a fling with Kim, and then he's seen with the kids and with this tattoo, so I'm like, that's not fling behavior.
And hanging out with like the whole family and everything. That is interesting. Well, we'll see. But I will say, you know, especially as we go into talking about Met Gala, I think they looked good. I think she looked probably the best of the Kardashian family, I thought.
At the Met?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about the Met. We can just start with the Kardashians since we're already with them. Kim wore the iconic Marilyn Monroe dress that she sung Happy Birthday to JFK.
Like the dress, not a recreation, the actual dress.
And it's so wild. So there was rumors about this for the last couple days. I think she said in an interview, like, I have a dress, but it can't be tailored. So I need to like fit into it. And then she was just saying how it's like quintessential American culture, which was the theme this year. And she wore it and it looked stunning. She dyed her hair blonde for it. It was like pulled back. I want to read to you what she talked about to Vogue magazine. She said it was the original dress. It was flown via private plane from Orlando, Florida to the Kardashians' home in Calabasas. It was transported by guards and she had to wear gloves to try it on. And then she said with only a few months before the gala, so she tried it on, it fit. The second fitting, it didn't fit. So she said it was this or nothing. In the weeks that followed, Kardashian would adhere to a strict diet to get closer to her goal. I would wear a sauna suit twice a day, run on the treadmill, completely cut out all sugar and all carbs, and just eat the cleanest veggies and protein. I didn't starve myself but I was so strict. A month later, she was inside Ripley's vaults where the dress is stored, and she tried it on, and she cried tears of joy when it fit. I also should have given a content warning. I'll put it in the listener notes of like disordered eating, fat phobia,
Yeah.
like even just gross language about like clean eating and stuff like that. I'll put that in the show notes, but just wild. A fucking sauna suit twice a day.
I, first of all, didn't even know that was like a thing.
I guess to lose water weight.
That's a whole level of rich that I'm just not this is rich people shit for sure. I mean, it's talk about having set standards.
Yes.
And, you know, we had that whole conversation about it, but yeah, I mean, I didn't know any of that until I saw her giving her interview on the red carpet this afternoon saying, oh, yeah, it didn't fit. And so I told them I'll make myself fit. And I lost 16 pounds in the last few weeks to fit into this dress. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I mean, if that is not like toxic, I don't know what is. Like telling people like, don't buy the outfit that fits you, make yourself fit a specific sized outfit.
100%. It's very much giving I'll size 2 dress sizes down before my wedding to make it fit.
Which gross.
Yeah.
All kinds of gross. That's not okay. Well, and it kind of, you know, I mean, rich people shit, right? Like this is what I thought was funny is, you know, the theme this year was gilded glamour. Yes. Gilded glamour. And I think you can interpret that like a couple ways. Like, yes. When they did the interview with Cardi B, you know, she's going off about it has nothing to do with a specific time period. It's just about like glitzy, golden. Here's my takeaway from this evening is I don't think anybody was given a dossier about what the gilded age.
Yes.
And what gilded is.
Yes.
Because from what the people in fashion were talking about was the Gilded Age of New York. And that's like late 1800s into 1900s. So turn of the, what is that, the 19th century, like end of the 19th century. Mm-hmm. And some people clearly understood that assignment and some people did not. But the Gilded Age is like to date, I think the time period where there was the largest wealth gap in the United States. It was very much like the haves, and the haves had a lot and the have-nots. And I think that's why you also saw a lot of people bringing out some political statements, but all of those were coming from people of color who would not have in the Gilded Age had a place or platform to stand on and deliver a message like that. So that it was funny that you have this evening of opulence where anybody who goes is the most elite, the richest people in the country.
Yes.
And the whole theme of the evening is about a time period built on wealth and wage gap. So it's a weird like meta thing when you really break it down of like, interesting choice.
It is. And my guest last week said it feels very Versailles. Like very much like it just seems like
abundance.
Yes. And like very I don't want to say tone deaf. I'm trying to get that word out of my vocab, but like very just out of touch with reality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Yes, couldn't agree more. On the Kardashians, I will say I loved Kris Jenner's look.
You know, she looked great.
She great.
She was giving me, and you know what? It was very like, it was very age appropriate.
Yeah,
and like, you know, in terms of like, you know, and that's not to say I don't think she could rock something, you know, with more revealing more skin or anything. But it was very. It was nice.
It was nice
for the occasion. I think she looked great, but Kim, I thought definitely had the best look. Although, God, I mix up all of them. I just know that the ones that I wrote down were Kim wearing Marilyn's dress, and I wrote Kourtney and Travis, nope. Kyle Jenner in a wedding dress, nope.
The thing that I want to say about the Kardashians going is like Kim understands the assignment of the Met Gala is, after all of the shit we just talked about, if you were going to this event, this is where you wear like the statement outfit. And like Kim, art, like literal art. It is opening up the Fashion Institute at the Met in New York. Like it is the hub of fashion. So it's like Kim gets it. Her dress, like instantly iconic because it's always been iconic. And then, yes, Khloe, Kourtney, Kris, Kylie looked like they were walking any old red carpet. So, yes, I get that. And I think a lot of people like Emma Stone, Amy Schumer, like even Sabrina Carpenter, like all of those dresses were like Olivia Rodrigo, I wrote down, like very just like, that's a gorgeous dress, but it doesn't necessarily fit the theme or just like how, again, opulent the Met is.
Yeah.
I will say I low-key liked Kylie Jenner's like wedding dress with the backwards hat.
I did not.
Like I hate that I liked it, and like I never give her like a fucking ounce of credit, but for some reason I just like it's very not cool, but I always like love like a baseball cap with a gown, like, you know, like the Converse with a like dress type of look.
I like that.
Yes.
No, I'm all for mixing and matching like aesthetics for sure. And I especially love any time you're going to hear, I kind of organized my little like best dressed and like worst dressed list. And I love a woman in a suit.
Yes,
I love a man in a skirt. Like I am all about bending the gender.
Yes.
However, I thought it was a lovely wedding dress had she been wearing it to a wedding.
Yes, yeah.
Her wedding, hopefully.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was fine. But yeah, it's just, I think I will say, I think this was one of the better dressed Met Galas I've seen in a while. Not in terms of like people being like so creative, because I think that was pre-pandemic. There were like a couple in a row that were just so incredible. But this one was more of like, there weren't a lot of people that I was just like, like, what were you thinking? There were a couple, but I think for the most part, even the people who didn't understand the assignment, they were just in a nice like evening gown.
Absolutely.
Like they looked very basic red carpet.
Yes.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, this is the Met Gala. Like this is your opportunity to like go a little avant-garde, to have some fun, to
wear a crazy headdress, like
the nails, the headpieces, the shoes. It is like a head to toe opportunity to have fun that you don't normally get to have on a red carpet. So it's like, why, if you're going to go and this is like an expensive, exclusive evening, you better make the most of your time. And there were definitely people who were not doing that.
Yes, 100%. Before we move on to the Kardashians, I just have to say, I think I also liked Kylie Jenner's is, you know, the Lindsay Lohan version of The Parent Trap?
Oh, absolutely.
There is one scene in Elizabeth James's wedding boutique where she puts the white top hat on the model. And it would, like, that's what it reminded me of. And I was like, I fucking love that.
That did look good in that movie.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
I agree. I agree.
Yes, okay. Everyone's like, how dare you, like compare it to Elizabeth James?
Oh, no. Well, okay, I have to know, did you have, like, do you want to start with, like, best dressed?
Yeah.
Okay. And there were a lot of great ones. Like, every time I thought I would narrow it down to, like, 2 or 3 people, I would just keep adding another person.
Me too. So I think that I'll quickly say my top 4. Because I think that's how I can narrow it down. Shawn Mendes. I loved it. I loved it. So he was like had normal style, and then like for a few years he went really like super skinny pant, Chelsea boot, open button up shirt, big chunky necklace, and I was like off of Shawn Mendes, but he was very much in like a Mr. Darcy like suit with like a big lapel collar situation.
It was very Gilded Age,
Yes.
like top hat, overcoat,
Like
kind
the
of
hair.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh. So he was my best dressed. And then Kaya Gerber also loved her hair, loved her like silvery dress. Blake Lively, I feel like, okay, so
Queen.
Oh my gosh, like that's what I want at the Met, where you are doing like a costume change in the middle of the red carpet.
Yes.
And she described how it was like a pain homage to New York, and I was like, that is perfect.
Those are great. No, those are really great. I will say, this is a combination of watching period dramas and also Project Runway. And I feel like the Met Gala is such a weird balance to find between fashion and costume. And I think there were the people who went all out on costume, who were like, look, I am going to deliver Bridgerton tonight, even though Bridgerton is Regency. Let me just put that out there. It's a different era.
Yes, but people really took it to Bridgerton.
Yeah,
yes.
there was more than one person who was like, "Oh yeah, I'm like serving up Bridgerton looks tonight." I'm like, oh,
yes, like Marie Antoinette. Like
you're 70 years too early. Like calm down.
Yes, yeah.
And then there were the people who, like we said, just had like a nice evening gown look. They played it really safe. So the people that I went with, I chose because I thought that they really, really hit the theme on they hit the nail on the head, right?
Yes.
I really think they hit the theme. And so Blake Lively, number one, she was stunning. There was a reveal. I like have such high expectations because of Lady Gaga, Billy Porter, Lil Nas X from previous Met Galas, where there's been this like reveal and taking something off and it turning into a new outfit and transforming. Yeah. I'm with you. That's the expectation I have. And so Blake Lively delivered. She looked stunning. I honestly really liked Vanessa Hudgens' look too.
Yes. So did I. And it was just fascinating because I just don't think she's usually like a Met Gala girly. So I was like, you look beautiful. Yeah, it was like lingerie.
Yeah, it was kind of like if you took all the fabric out of the middle of like a nightgown almost. And it's just like the seams and everything with, you know, the lingerie underneath. Like it was really beautiful. I loved the sheer. I noticed a lot of corsetry, which makes sense for the time period. For me, there was a lot of gold. I think a lot of people leaned into gold and silver for gilded. I thought the person who did it the best was Megan Thee Stallion. I thought she was I think a lot of people were holding out for Cardi, and Cardi did look good.
Yes.
But I thought Megan Thee Stallion looked better. She was like my number one.
Yes, with the like
gold pick.
It was almost like angel wing sleeves.
Yeah, it was like a sculpted shoulder.
Yes.
Like it looked good.
And her makeup
really
flawless.
Good. Yeah.
Love that. She's in Moschino.
Okay. And then the one who I have 5, sorry.
It's
the
okay.
one who I thought really has not been talked enough about, but I thought looked great and it was like the perfect balance was Chloe Grace Moritz.
Oh,
is that her name?
Yes. Was she in the suit?
Yeah, it was like a silver glitzy jacket with like a white jumpsuit underneath.
Yes.
And it looked good.
Yes.
So I was a fan of that. And then I gotta shout out Lizzo because Lizzo looked like a walking piece of art. And she brought her damn flute.
What's her flute's nickname again? I can't remember. But she brought the fucking flute. Pairing a black lip with that black dress. Chef's kiss perfection.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Stunning. Like, yeah. So those are like my 5 individuals. And then I will say I did want to give a couple shout outs to some couples because Alicia Keys and her husband looked stunning. She had the New York City skyline embroidered in like crystals on this floor length cape, and he had a really classy like New York Letterman jacket on.
Yes.
And I loved that.
And I loved the way that the cape was like one shoulder versus just like Little Red Riding Hood, like like she looks
right on the back.
Yeah, she looks so fucking chic. Yeah.
Yeah. She also doesn't age at all.
No.
So I'm pretty sure she's a vampire. But and then I will say Jodie Turner-Smith and Joshua Jackson are one of those celebrity couples that I would do any dirty thing that they wanted me to do if I could spend the night with them. Like, I love them so much. And he is one of those celebs, much like Ryan Reynolds is, where the way that they stare at their partners is, oh my God.
It's the stuff of romance novels.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's why I read romance, is not for the sex scenes, which, you know, you do get in some romance, but not in others. It's for that electricity, that burn between the couple. I burn for you.
I burn for you. Fuck.
Yeah, that one, they looked great too.
They did. He was in a white tie with, it was like a two-tone suit, which I didn't love the two-tone, but I get that it's like, it's something different, but it was like black on top and then gray on the bottom. Okay, she also, hers was like a little bit flapper vibes, and I feel like people did a little bit of, like, Camila Mendez from Riverdale was also wearing kind of like flapper vibes, and I think even Emma Stone was, so.
Yeah, there was definitely, you know, kind of like a Ziegfeld Follies sort of, with like the shorter
with
dress,
like
some feathers, some fringe.
There was so much feathers this year. Yeah. So many feathers.
It goes right along with like that opulent theme. Like I get it. And so much corsetry. I felt like it was either black, white, silver, or gold for the most part. Yeah. And so I kind of wish there had been like a little more variety in the colors. Like there was a couple times where I think Tessa Thompson was wearing like a pink dress, and I just remember the dress because it stood out from the rest.
Yeah, same with Quanah. Chasing Horse was in like turquoise.
Yes.
Loved.
Yeah, beautiful. The only worst dress, I feel like, well, okay, we talked about like the Kardashians, like not,
just like basic,
showing up.
Yes.
I will say I was not a fan of Amy Schumer's look.
No, it was so disappointing because I was like, you could have worn this anywhere. Yeah. Like, it wasn't even that, like, I didn't love the dress, and the cut was weird at the ankles, like, before her high heels and stuff. But, like, I was thinking just, like, you could wear this literally anywhere. But, so that's just so, like,
it just wasn't special. It did not feel, and then the one person who I just looked at time and time again and was like, I don't know if you're at the right event. Like, I feel like maybe you're mixed up.
You got
and
lost
should be
on the way
somewhere else. Was poor Sebastian Stan, because he was wearing.
Was he in the hot pink?
Yes.
Yes.
And I am here for Sebastian Stan to wear pink for some reason, but this was not the reason.
Yes. Okay. So one of my friends, Courtney, who's been on the pod, sent that to me and was like, I love this just for the fact that it's not a black tuxedo.
Yes. Yes. And I agree, because I think the only times, I won't say the only times, but most of the only times we get to see the men experiment with color or fabric or texture at the Met Gala is usually when they're either A, not straight.
Yes.
Or B, not white.
Yeah.
Like, it's always the straight white dudes that are just boring the hell out of us with these classy black suits, but they're just a black suit.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously you look great, but you could wear that to the Academy Awards or Cannes or something like that. But yes, completely agree.
Yeah, so I'm with you in terms of I liked that he did do something.
Yeah.
But it wasn't maybe the right something. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Totally. I think the only worst dress for me, which is sad because I love them as a couple, but Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner.
I did write them down too.
Yes. So she did like a really thin, like 90s eyebrow. And then like a corally orange lip. And then she has dyed her hair auburn, or it's a wig. I'm unsure because she's preg. So I'm like, I don't know if you can dye your hair. But she just looks washed out. And yes, it wasn't the look. Like, again, nothing specifically wrong with the dress. Maybe it's just more the makeup. And then he looks good, but I don't know. It was, again, he did something different, but his shirt that he's wearing underneath his tux it looks just like what you would, like a leopardy printed like shirt that you would find at like
Goodwill.
Yes.
I wrote down that they looked like the extras on set, not the stars of the show, because it just, I'm like, I've seen both of you
pull
at
it
your
out.
peak.
Yes.
Like, this is not, and I don't like the message that sends of like, when you're a parent or when you like are pregnant, you can't
be
dress
at your peak. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we know that she can, and we know that he can. And so I'm with you. I was not a fan.
And it just also, so they dressed up as the Addams Family.
That's so cute.
Like the wife and the, I can't remember their names in the show. Like the two main, like the mom and the dad.
Oh, yeah. Morticia and Gomez.
Yes, thank you. And it also just reminded me of that costume. I was like, you both kind of look like what you wore when you dressed up. Yeah.
Our
like
Halloween costumes.
Yeah, because she has like the middle part, really long hair, black dress, pale face.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're right. I can see it.
So that's just kind of like where my head was at.
Overall, though, a good evening.
Yes. I thought so too, because I feel like the last Met that I like loved was Heavenly Bodies. I can't remember what year that was, but it was fun. Before Kelly and I hit record, we were just saying how much, I don't know, sometimes it's nice to be frivolous, even though it is really out of touch and like disgusting. There is a part of me that's like, oh, it was just nice to like look at people being fancy.
I mean, it's like the living vicariously through someone, like it's the same reason we read books. It's the same reason we watch movies, it gives us an escape for, a couple hours of our time. And especially when you can like there's a reason people love billionaire romance. It's because they want to see people just like drop in cash on like the most useless stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so true.
Well, thanks for making me watch it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know. Because I was like, oh my God, this is like the perfect timing, as we can give like basically our live takes, even though this will come out in a few days, but
still.
Okay, moving on to Pettyweight Champion of the Week. Kelly, who are you nominating this week?
Well, let me tell you, we got a few nominees.
Perfect.
Because it's it's been a petty week. It's been a petty few months, I feel like. So the first one, I feel like some of them are easier to explain than others. So I'll start with the easiest, which naturally is the Kardashians, right? Because on the day that they attend the Met Gala, they are also missing the deliberations in court for Blac Chyna's case against them, which I'm just like, that takes a whole another level of being rich and having balls, right? To just be like, oh, this woman is suing us for like $100 million in damages or whatever. And not only are we like not that concerned about it, we're just not even going to show up. We're just not going to show up.
Every single person. Like, it wasn't one of them. It
all
was
of them.
Kim, Chris, Kylie, and Chloe
Mm-hmm.
all flew to New York when the case is obviously happening in California.
LA. Yep.
Fucking, you're so right. So ballsy. And that they won and Black China lost. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if I'm like...
That would be awful.
No, they won and she lost. And yes, but that is
gosh.
such a good point of just like, oh, $140 million or whatever. Like,
yeah, that's nothing.
we might have to pay that, but we won't have to.
You know what? I bet the amount of money that they spent to go to the Met Gala and get all of them outfits and, you know, pay for their hair and their makeup and everything.
And the tickets, like $40K.
Probably, yeah, it's probably not much less than what they would have owed Black China.
Well, they did private jets, which I now follow account on Twitter called like @celebrityprivatejets. I'll put it in the episode show notes.
God.
It just tracks celebrity private jet, and then it underneath, like where they go, and then underneath it says how much oil they used and the cost, and it is chef's kiss perfection. It's fascinating. Like, oh, you used $20,000 in like crude oil or whatever to fly like fucking 3 hours across the country. Like,
that's so wild. Again, I can't even fathom that level of being rich.
Yeah.
Like, it's, yeah. So there's that.
Yes.
Speaking of court cases, I feel like I could make a case for every single person involved in the Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp trial. I especially just Amber Heard and her lawyer, her lead attorney in general. Like, this man, the amount of times you see this man say, object to something, the amount of questions this guy asks over and over again. It's one of those ones where the more you watch the case, the more you're like, wow, they're just really trying to find something here. Yeah. Like, because they know that there's nothing. So...
And let's throw in all of the people doing coverage of the case,
I was going to say, and even worse than that is the fact that this is all like being publicly, you know, televised. It's on the internet. Like, I cannot open up any of my social media apps without the first thing popping up. This is Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. The first thing popping up being, watch the Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp trial live. And I do. So, I mean,
it worked.
I'm part of the system.
Yeah.
No, we know more about that than we do about like what's going on in Ukraine these days. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
So there's that. And then my last one, and this is something you might also want to throw in a content warning for in the beginning, is that I just heard about this today. Ulta Beauty apologized to their consumers because they sent out an email the other day. And the email's headline was meant to advertise a new fragrance for Kate Spade. And if people keep up with fashion, they know that Kate Spade not only died a few years ago, but she took her own life. And the headline of this email was, "Come hang with Kate Spade." And I mean, I don't get this email. I'm following this 100% on Twitter, but I have also worked in copywriting, and I know how many people.
That's what I was going to ask.
Need to go by. Like, you run so much of this by so many different people.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same way I feel about when like you see a mistake in like a movie that's like so blatant that you're just like, there's like 40 people who have seen this.
Yeah, why didn't you edit the fucking coffee cup Game of Thrones?
Oh my God, that's the one I was thinking of.
I'm still thinking about that.
But it's true. It's so, I'm baffled by the level of ignorance associated with not only that, but then that they sent this follow-up email that is just the quintessential example of a petty apology to excuse shitty behavior and ignorance.
Yeah. Okay. 3 for 3 for Pettyweight Champs. Like, honestly, hit it out of the park. B, the grossest part of me thinks that this could have been on purpose.
Oof.
Because, like, think about Kate Spade, the company's popularity over the last couple years. I just feel like they're not on the forefront of like handbags or jewelry anymore. And their kind of aesthetic, I feel like, has not gone out of style, but just it's not as popular as it once was. And sometimes I think that companies do these
publicity stunt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like, would you have known that this perfume was coming out?
No, honestly, I had no idea. And I will tell you, I love Kate Spade products.
Yes.
Like I am very much one of those like 14-year-old girls living in like a 31-year-old's body.
Oh,
like,
I love that. I
love the bright colors.
Yes.
I love the purses that are shaped like lemons.
Yes.
I am so here for it. I had no idea as a Kate Spade consumer that there was even a fragrance option.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. I low-key think that people do this to get people in the door, which is so horrific.
Yeah, like I hope that's not what it is, but at the same time, when you think about it, and again, you think about all the people's emails that like this would have come across before they even sent it out. You're either doing this on purpose, which makes you a terrible person, or you're just so ignorant that you don't. And honestly, I can tell you, like, just having become part of like the book world and ingrained myself in what we think of as book Twitter, book talk, bookstagram, there's a lot of petty shit like this that happens there too. There's a lot of authors making mistakes and people pointing it out to them and them doubling down and not wanting to be held accountable. But guess what? Just by talking about it, you're giving them attention. So I don't know. I'm with you. I feel like it could go either way, and either way, it sucks.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it is kind of like a conversation I had on the pod last week with myself. It was a solo episode, but I don't know. Have you been following the Tinks cancellation?
No.
Okay, so Tinks is like a TikToker.
Okay.
Kind of like medium level fame, but she has been on the up and up, and she had a bunch of tweets that were like xenophobic, fatphobic, etc. that were dug up recently. And I think, well, like two things. I think that her fan base thinks like her, so she thought that there was nothing wrong with them. But the second piece is like, I think that people sometimes are okay with this because I think in the short term she might lose sponsorship or followers. But like, for example, now you know who Tinks is. You might go check out her page, like her content, and then follow her. Or like anyone listening to this, like could like even me talking about it for the second time is driving people to her content. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I like her content. Yeah, I don't agree with her political stuff, but like I like her content. And
I can't do it.
I can't do it. I can't fucking do it. I truly
separating the artist from the art.
Totally.
And I 100% can't do it. And there are plenty of people who will disagree. There are plenty of people who will say, no, this is I'm just going to relate it back to authors. Like I will read this author no matter what, because I love what they write. And here's the thing, this has been coming up a lot in the book.
Because of J.K.
social media.
Rowling?
Not even,
okay.
I'm literally just talking about like 3 or 4 romance authors. Like,
Okay.
I'm not even beyond, I could tell you like 10 stories about this, like just from this year. But no, I don't like what's coming about in terms of this toxic stan culture for whether it's a TikToker or an author or an actor, whoever it might be. You are not obligated to love everything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I'm reading responses to certain posts that clearly have something problematic with them, saying things like, I would read anything you wrote, even if it was covered in dog shit. I will watch any movie you ever create because I love you that much. It's just gross.
Yeah.
Like, I think just as much the artist being the problem, if they are a problem, it's the fans.
Yeah.
It's the fans and how they become so toxic and will defend this artist against anybody who has an issue with them and make it personal. And 9 times out of 10, when you're pointing something out, like, I don't know what Tinks's deal is, but it sounds like what people are pointing out, they're not saying like, you're an awful person. I'm sure some people are saying that, but
me.
It's probably, but it's probably a lot of people saying, hey, look, you said these things, at some point in time.
Yes.
How have you grown?
Yeah.
What have you learned from this experience? And the unfortunate thing is that usually the response isn't an apology.
No,
it's
and
not
it wasn't.
showing growth.
Yeah.
It's just doubling down on, or it's not answering at all. It's, I don't owe you anything. I don't, and that's, oh God, I'm so sick of it.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. And a lot of her fans are doubling down. Like,
yikes.
Yeah, like, everyone makes mistakes.
That's true.
Yeah, yes, yeah, that is true. But
that is very true.
Yes, and just like, just doubling down on like supporting and then there is no accountability because she keeps 90% of her fan base and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
and the bigger they get, the more difficult it is
to have them respond to these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's not to like tear them down or anything like that. Like, I know a lot of people will probably relate it back to cancel culture, but like, the reason that people get quote unquote canceled is not necessarily because of something they do or say. It's because of how they respond to being called out about it.
Mm-hmm.
To when somebody calls them out about it, do they make a change?
Mm-hmm.
Do they apologize and say, this is what I'm going to do differently, and then actually do it?
Mm-hmm.
Or do they double down? Do they get defensive? Because to me, that's what leads me to like remove people from my sphere, from people who I want to read and watch and stuff. It's not the action, it's the response to the action. Right. So yeah, it's a wild world we live in today.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads us to This Week in Petty, which is kind of in the same vein. My beef this week is TikTokers that like set up their camera and then like fake sleep to like start their morning routine, or like TikTokers that like their page is mostly their relationship and will like set up the camera and then be like, we just held each other on the couch for like 30 minutes like this today. And it was like, well, you set up the camera and then you walked to the couch and then held each other and then walked back to the camera, turned it off.
The falsity to
yes, or
whatever
like
it is.
Your good morning routine, love it. Love a morning routine video. But did you have set up your camera, fake sleep, and then fake wake up, and then go get your coffee? Like, just show the coffee. Yeah. like it's just it's so weird.
And I think it's hard with the way that social media is today, and with something like TikTok, and I'm somebody who's on TikTok at this point.
I love your TikToks.
Oh, thank you. I've really been enjoying it for the most part. I will say it's very hard to be authentic
Yes, yeah,
on
yeah.
something like any kind of social media.
Yes.
But what I do like about TikTok, I just saw people having this conversation as it related to Coachella when they were watching people's, videos and photos from Coachella, is that with Instagram, we would always just kind of get this one snapshot that you could take time and time again and edit it as much as you want and post it, and it's just a moment in time. And so I think to that extent, TikTok is actually a little more honest, but but maybe more scripted, I guess, is the way. Like, it kind of feels like you're making a movie. It feels like, at least when I make a TikTok, and I come from a filmmaking background, it does feel like you're creating a script and you're making a movie, unless you're just like somebody who's really naturally funny, which if you are, and you're one of those gifted storytellers that just tells a hilarious like bad dating story.
In 60
Congrats.
seconds, like on the dot. Yeah, totally.
But that's, I'm with you. The like fake waking up and like, ugh, I've
been wanting to talk about this for a while. So I have been saving examples, so I'll post them on my Instagram and stuff as when this episode comes out. But just of like, oh my god, it just annoys me so much. I can just like, I feel like I kind of just get secondhand embarrassment thinking of you like setting up your tripod and then like literally
climbing back into bed.
Yes.
It sounds like it's specifically the ones that start with them getting out of bed, as opposed to like, you've already gotten out of bed, this is what you do, camera in hand.
And like, I do love watching like, like couples like dance in the kitchen and stuff, but then there's always the part of me that it's like, you set up your phone and then you like dance.
And I love when couples like kind of do like little cutesy pranks on each other and stuff like that. But I do always wonder, I'm like, how much of this is real? Like, how much of this was actually a surprise prank versus they knew what was going to happen? Because I don't know. It leaves me wondering.
Yeah, me too.
Petty.
So fucking petty. Oh my god. This episode was so much fun.
So much fun. Probably way too long for everybody listening, but I hope they enjoyed it nonetheless.
Where can the listeners find you and anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. So Boobies and Newbies, just like this podcast, you will find it across wherever you're listening to podcasts. I'm also boobiesandnewbies.com. You can listen to past episodes, find all sorts of blog posts, stuff like that. I'm at Boobies Podcast on just about every social media platform except TikTok, because apparently you can't use the word boobies in your handle. So I had to settle for Boobies Podcast, but the 2 O's are actually zeros.
Classic.
Gotcha.
Classic.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I do have some fun stuff coming up this summer, but it's all kind of still in the works. So I'm sure there'll be more to know coming soon. But yeah, following me is the best way to find out about things.
I love that. And I'll be back. Your lives, do they turn into podcasts?
They don't. They all live on my Instagram. But yes, thank you for mentioning that you have been kind enough to be my book club guest host this coming month. Yeah. And that will be a live Instagram discussion that, even if people miss it, they can watch it, relive the fun time and time again on the Boobies and Newbies Instagram page.
Yes, and I've downloaded the book, but I haven't started it yet. So I'll be I'll be reading and taking notes. I ever since I started this podcast, now everything I do, watch TV, But even if I can TikTok, I'm taking notes.
Just in case.
Just in case.
And I think this is going to be a spicy one. I think it's going to be like a dark,
for us.
Spicy arranged marriage or like marriage of convenience.
Love it. Okay, I cannot wait. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Kelly for joining me on today's episode. Here are a few updates about our Met Gala predictions that Sammy and I talked about in episode 90. I feel like I'm mouth breathing and it's like the most disgusting thing. So I'm going to keep this really fucking short. We thought, or we wanted desperately for Taylor Swift to be at the Met Gala and she was not, which was like so disappointing. I just wish that we could see her at some of these big events, but I understand also why she doesn't go to them also. So yeah, just sad that she wasn't there. There was also just that weird shit with Kim Kardashian about diet stuff. And then like it was kind of revealed that she possibly lied about the dress actually fitting. It was just tied at the back because it didn't fit over her bum. And that's why she was wearing the fur. So just super, super weird shit. Emma Chamberlain, who I talked about on episode 90 again with Sammy, looked fucking unreal at the Met. One of my favorite looks. I feel like it really embodied the gilded glamour theme. I'm gonna put the PowerPoint I made for, I don't think I mentioned this. Peak pandemic, March 2020, my friends and I on Skype did a PowerPoint party, which is a party where you have like 10 minutes to make a PowerPoint on any topic that you think about. I often see them on TikTok. I don't know if people still super do them anymore because, again, I think it was kind of a pandemic thing, but I chose to do mine on Emma Chamberlain and I think it's really funny. So I'm going to upload it to my Google Drive and I'll put it in the episode show notes. And then literally all I wrote in here was songs, and I think I just mean that like all like there's a trend on TikTok right now that's just like making fun of her boyfriend Role Model or Tucker and like his songs about her. One of them is called like Masturbation Song, and then it just she's in the music video and like it's kind of cringe. I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast. I'll post some TikToks on my Instagram about it because it's so funny because all the comparisons are to Dylan and Haley from Modern Family. And it's just really, really funny. I also dressed up as her for Halloween, I feel like. Okay, so if you're an OG follower of this podcast, you'll also know that I literally dropped $300 on an espresso coffee machine because she used an espresso coffee machine. So I feel like in the last 2 episodes I've been like super chill about how obsessed I was with her, but like it's all coming out now how much I loved her. I dressed up for her for Halloween in 2019. And then I also told a story on my Instagram about how when my sister and I went to LA in December of 2019, I literally made her go to a Phil's coffee shop. I ordered the same, it was called like Dancing Waters. I ordered the same drink that Emma Chamberlain would get like every day in her like thrifting or like, I don't know, vlog videos. And Phil's has like a weird like menu and like ordering system. Like you can't just be like, oh, I needed like a latte. You have to like specifically say something. So I remember I like went online and like looked up what I had to say and like literally practiced it before I went. And then was like a medium iced like Dancing Waters with almond milk and like vanilla or something like that. I literally think that was the order. Anyways, I remember also I did put this on my Instagram, but I probably will. I am pretty sure earlier that year my mom and I went to Portland. I think this was like April or May 2019, and I remember Emma really liked Dutch Bros coffee, so I made my mom twice go through the Dutch Bros drive-through because we also don't have those in Canada. Okay, this is crazy. I don't think I have been this obsessed with a celeb. I don't know. Like definitely like Justin Bieber and stuff back in the day, and Cody Simpson. I wanted his doll so bad. But like, this was weird, okay? This was fucking weird. Okay. Moving on, Black China versus the Kardashians. They reached a verdict and Black China lost the case. The Kardashians won. They found the Kardashians not guilty of like conspiring against shutting down the second season of Rob and China. They thought it was for valid reasons. The fucking boldest thing though, and just like the most interesting thing I think about this case is they weren't there for the fucking verdict of like between $100 million and $140 million court case. They were at the fucking Met when the verdict was being reached and was being read. And I wish I had the type of money that I could just, you know, be in a different city and not give a fuck that I might be paying $100 million in damages in a court case. And I just would be living my best life at a fucking gala. So yeah, just absolutely ridiculous. Also today, Ray J, who was the person that Kim had sex with on tape that was quote unquote leaked back in the day, 15 years ago, leaked texts basically saying that he was in a partnership with Kim and Chris, and the video wasn't leaked without consent. It was a planned like launch, as well as that there are more tapes, and this is just one of a few. So I don't know, does this change anything for you, or is this just confirming what we already knew? Kind of wild about the leaked texts, and I'll post those on my Instagram stories because they're just too long to read out now. But yeah, basically just calling the show like a complete and utter farce. Okay, I think that's it. Let's wrap it up. Go to my Instagram I'm going to post my worst looks, more of my worst looks from the Met Gala, and save the date for May 25th at 5 p.m. on the At Boobies podcast Instagram with Kelly. We're going to be discussing The Reluctant Bride by Monica Murphy. It's a book club, so come join us. We should do an RTBB book club, honestly. It's going to be super fun. My first Instagram live since March 2020. And we're just going to talk romance novels and, you know, read out some smut scenes and like just all of that good stuff. So once again, thank you so much for listening. I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Tori, and I'm ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.